Today, the film Moscow Never Sleeps opened at San Francisco's 4-star theater.
Made by an Irishman who spent 12 years living in Russia, this film highlights the point that there are two Russias, the Russian government and the Russian people.
Happy to be joined this morning by the film's writer, director, co-producer, Johnny O'Reilly. Thanks for joining us. To be clear, this was made long before the current presidential election, long before this U.S.-Russia relationship was in the headlines every day.
Yeah, no, it wasn't made with any kind of political point in mind. The main point of the film is to show international audiences what Russia's really like, because most of the information that people get about Russia is filtered through the geopolitics of the country.
Right.
Putin, corruption, as if there's nothing else happening in Russia.
And I want to tug at that because most people have this image of Russia. Do you think that most people's image here in the United States is inaccurate?
Yes, it would be like as if everyone's image of America is Donald Trump. So there's a lot else going on in America other than that.
People think of it as cold, gray, uniform.
Well, the summer in Moscow is about the same as the summer in Paris. So yeah, I mean, the stereotypes about Russia are very strong because the Cold War and because there's not much of a tourism industry there, very few people travel there. So yeah, it's understandable why people have that kind of simplistic vision of the country, but it's a pity that people don't know more about it because there's a lot more going on.
But in the film, you explore sort of the social stratification especially of the city of Moscow. You have the upper class, the government class. You have the lower class. How divided a city is Moscow?
Well, statistically, Russia has got the biggest income gap in the world. But for 80 years, everyone was in the same boat under communism. So they all have a very strong shared history and common understanding. So on the superficial level, it appears to be very divided. You've got very wealthy people, very poor people, but everyone has a kind of close understanding of each other. And there's a strong kind of community because of that.
As the memory of communism fades, do you think that strong unity, if you will, because of that shared experience, will fade as well?
Yes, I think it probably will fade, actually, yeah. I mean, Russia's now a very wild capitalist state where, you know, it's much more dog-eat-dog than it used to be. So if you're not well-connected, if you're not wealthy, you know, life is a lot harder.
A little more like America.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the censorship, the oversight you may have faced in making your film? Was there much?
There was a bit of censorship, but, you know, in Russia, censorship is exercised through self-censorship, you know?
You know better than to put this storyline in.
No, I resist it myself, but people in the Ministry of Culture, for example, who decided not to support this film, it's not like, you know, the minister himself sent down an edict, oh, this film should not be allowed. There was someone low down in the Ministry of Culture who made a decision that my film should not be supported. So because of that, it was difficult for the film to find an audience in Russia.
Is it being shown in Russia?
It was shown in Russia on a limited release.
I see.
So Johnny, obviously, I mean, it's clear from the film that you made, you have a profound affinity for the city of Moscow. Would you say that the actors are more the stars in this film, or would you say the city itself is what you're kind of trying to put on display here? The city is more the star.
Well, I tried to do both, of course. I mean, the actors in the movie are all top Russian box office stars, so any Russian you know, person will recognize those actors. But yes, you're right. I mean, Moscow is the central character in the film, both visually and thematically. So, you know, and it reflects my own affinity with the city, having lived there for 12 years. And also, what I believe objectively is one of the world's great and beautiful cities.
Okay, Moscow Never Sleeps. Thanks so much for joining us. Johnny O'Reilly, your film opens at San Francisco's 4-star theater today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.